Okay, so this question in our free Facebook group made me think I should do a video on how you figure out what's happening when your G4 starts doing something weird. Same can go for Google Search Console. So we're gonna do a quick rehab because I just broke something on my site and also had to figure out why I had no traffic suddenly. So I'm going to be back in just 1 second. It'll be magic for you guys. Think like I Dream of Genie vibes with like smoke coming out. But I'm gonna open up Google Search Console and Google Analytics, and we're gonna talk about how you can figure out what's going wrong, because things go wrong all the time. I am the queen of breaking my analytics, and I've still gotten where I am. So like, you don't need to be an expert on this, but I've gotten pretty good about finding where things are broken, okay? Okay, so let's start with Google Analytics. This is my Ottawa site. This is where I broke it. So you can see it was like trucking along nicely and then wah wah. And so I had to figure out what happened. Now, the first thing to do when you see anything like this happening, where you see random dips, is to go into the real-time search. So you can actually, I think easier way to do it, you see over here it has like users in last 30 minutes. If you hit view real time, yes, it's not perfect, but this is one way we can kind of triage this. In an incognito tab, so you're gonna open up, on Chrome, it's like Command Shift N, I think, if I got that right. I always just do it, I don't think of what the command is. But you would open up an incognito tab. So actually, let's just do it. Yeah, okay, it is Command Shift N. I open up Ottawa Things to Do, and let's just pick a post that, trying to find one that doesn't get a ton of clicks. I don't think this one's ranking yet, so let's pick this one. So I'm gonna open this up, and now we're gonna go back over here. And what I want to look at specifically are these pages that people are on. So it is quite small, I just hover. I mean, I could probably expand it, but I think it's easier to hover. And so then I'm just looking for the Gatineau post that we just saw. And it will take a minute. Sometimes it can take a couple. So here we go, Gatineau Park camping, 1 person. And if we look at like the screen over here, it'll show us where people are. I know that I'm over in Victoria, so that's little me, hi world. So this tells me that it's running, and that's really important. If that's not happening, or if you get 2 clicks to that thing. So for example, like I went to a post I know doesn't have a lot of organic traffic, it's pretty new, so it's not ranking yet. One of the reasons I did that is I didn't want to be like, okay, I am on this post, a bunch of people are too, so it adds a few, and maybe that's me, maybe it's not. What we really want to be careful of is if we go to a post like this and then 2 views show up. Because if that's the case, that means your analytics code is running twice. And that's a problem. It might seem nice to be like, oh, I've got double the sessions, double the page views, yay. No, because Mediavine or Raptive or whatever, they will spot it, they will notice you have too many, and they're gonna reduce it, and then be like, okay, actually you only have 25,000 sessions, so you can't get in, go away, come back later. And that's just like soul crushing when you thought you were literally at the door of it. Like I would actually rather be like hovering at 49.8K sessions for months versus being sent backwards to 25K. So we don't want that. So that's how we check this here. Now, if nothing shows up, that means it's not running. So what you need to do then is reinstall your G4 code. And you can do this in a number of ways. I have another video on my YouTube channel of how to set it up. I would recommend my 2 favorite ways, either install it with Rank Math. So to do that, you're just gonna go through the settings area on Rank Math. So let's open up this site. I'm just gonna pause. Okay, that took a minute. Turns out the new WordPress update that auto-installed hates me. So don't let WordPress updates auto-install. I don't know why I had that turned on for this site. Anyway, you're gonna come to the analytics, you're gonna go through the advanced, basically it's on the analytics section, that you're gonna come here and you're going to install the analytics code. So you would just, if you haven't connected yet, it'll just have a button to connect, and then you're gonna connect all of these things essentially, and then you're good to go. This is also one area, I'm gonna jump ahead of myself a minute. This is how we can also ensure that our sitemap is running properly and is connected to our SEO plugin. This is where I would install GSC. I think it is just the easiest and best way to do it. Now, the other way that you can install, if it's gonna let me click anything, it was like freezing every second I tried to click on anything. But the other way that you can install your G-tag, which is like the manual code, I do go over in my other video on like how to set up G4. But for most people, you're going to need to install a free plugin, which is the Code Inserter plugin. It's like WP Code Lite, I think is what it's like shows up as on your back end. If you have Cadence Pro like I do, then you're going to be able to customize. And some other themes do this as well. I'm thinking of Cadence specifically, but I know when I was on Genesis, which I don't recommend, but it also had this, they have the custom scripts area, and that's where you can input a script into your header, the body or footer, and you would want to put it into your header or footer. If your speed is bad, put it in your footer, but I would put it in the header because that is really where they want it. But I had a developer tell me you could put it in the footer. It would just then load after everything else. So if someone bounces too quickly, it might miss them, which is the only thing. But yeah, that's where I would add that. And so then you're going to want to then come here and check again. Okay, is someone still on those pages? I would move to a new page on your site or refresh it from what you had. And do remember that like G4 takes a minute. So if you did real time and you don't show up immediately, give it like up to 3 to 5 minutes, I would say, up to 5 minutes, I guess, to see if it shows up. If it doesn't, then that's when you know there's a problem to fix. Now, if it's saying that it's connected, so if you go to, I have to move my little head, but if you go to the admin area, data streams here, you want it to say that it's been receiving traffic. If it doesn't, that means that the stream isn't working. So you might have the code installed, but maybe something glitched, there's something wrong. I just reinstall it again. I'm sure there's other things that you could do. I'm sure there's ways you could like read the code or something. I am not a coder. I don't do any of that. So for me, what I want to do is just go and click in and like make sure it's working. And the way that I can do that is just by reinstalling it. And that's going to be more beneficial. So we want to do this in like the least techie way possible, essentially. At the very, very worst, if you've set it up, it all seems right, it's never been receiving traffic, just start a whole new property and just start from scratch. Worst case, throw out the thing that's never worked and just start again. That's kind of the easiest way to do it. Now for GSC, if something was to go wrong here and it just all plummets, what we want to do there to triage like has something happen, and technically even for analytics too, for a newer site where like you might just have not that much traffic every day and you're just not sure, do I actually not have traffic or is just like, is it broken? That's why we test, like we go on it and look for ourselves. We can't really do that with GSC. So instead what you can do, I'm on the wrong site. So here, what you can do here is take a look at how things are going. So your clicks might drop, but if you're still ranking, then that would just mean that, okay, there's no traffic right now because it's just not the right season for some stuff. So for example, if you ran a Christmas website and it was just about Christmas, maybe in March, no one is searching for Christmas. So maybe you still rank really well, but your traffic and clicks have just gone off a cliff. That wouldn't mean that you had done anything wrong beyond having a very seasonal site, which isn't wrong necessarily, you just have to be prepared for it. But if your positions have tanked, that means you've lost rankings. So what you want to do then, and an easy way to check if it's actually been lost or something, come up here and then compare instead. So we're going to apply the compare. And then the easiest way to think of this for clicks, positive is good. For impressions, positive is good. For position, positive is bad. You actually want to like lose position essentially, because you'll see like the higher numbers technically mean you're ranking lower. You know what I mean? So like ranking 50 is bad, ranking 1 is good. Moving from 50 to 1 means they just subtract the numbers. So it means minus 49. So minuses are actually a good thing. For all the other ones, positive is good, but for this one, negative is good. Yeah, just confused myself even saying that. It's really weird. But so for this one, like I have gained half a position for it. I want to go check that out and figure out how I can get rid of that and like make it lower again, sort of a thing. So you can then check, have your rankings actually changed? Is it that you've lost a ton of rankings? Maybe you got hit by an update or something. This is where you can check that kind of stuff. Now, if everything's just like plateaued and nothing's happening at all, that likely means that your sitemap, something went wrong, or you're brand new and don't have anything to show yet, and that's okay. Brand new people, a lot of this triaging you just don't need to do because you just don't have people yet, and that's okay. This is more when things are trucking along and then like plummet off a cliff. If everything plummets, probably your sitemap or you got hit by an update. So then I would go, you can either go into sitemaps and update this manually. Literally, you can just copy the sitemap here, put it up here, hit submit, and then do it again. Or easier way, reconnect it under rank math. Just click reconnect on that page we were on, and then you're kind of good to go. Now there's so many other things that can go wrong, but when in doubt, just reconnect stuff. That is kind of like the basics of, okay, if my G4 isn't reporting data that it looks like it should be, especially if your G4 and your GSC seem really out of whack. So I'm not saying that like, okay, your clicks are different. Your clicks will always be different than your page views and sessions, because clicks are just when, oops, it's the wrong place, this one. Clicks are just people clicking on these specific queries from Google and showing up on your site. Page views is going to be everything they saw. And sessions, people come from other places, not just from Google. For example, from Bing, from Yahoo, from DuckDuckGo, from Facebook, Pinterest, like every other place. I'm not going to name them all. I don't know why I started naming them all. But yeah, they're all going to go over there and like be from everywhere. So it's not that we want to match our clicks to page views. It's just that we want to make sure, okay, if things are rising on our GSC, if they're not rising as well on Google Analytics, what's happening? Or like the person in the question that like prompted this whole thing, if your GSC is collecting data and says you have clicks, but your Google Analytics is like, no one came here for a few days, likely it got disconnected and something happened. So sometimes that does happen if the times that I've disconnected my Google Analytics from my site were largely times that I made big changes. So for my main site, when I switched themes from Genesis to Cadence, I forgot that I had put things in that header script area. And so they didn't get carried over, because at first I didn't realize that free Cadence doesn't have the header thing built in for you to add code to it. You have to download that free code inserter plugin. But I just had to copy it over basically. And if I had known that, wouldn't have made that mistake. That's why I tell you guys to be careful before you change things and to test these things. Then other times I used the CAOS plugin that my host recommended. I hate the plugin. I deleted it because it had an update. And so it just updated the plugin and then it deleted my code inside of it. And the whole point of that plugin, you can tell how annoyed I am, was to hold on to that code. So it should at least tell you if it's going to delete the code when it updates. It was so dumb, so I just got rid of it. I've also had it where if you like switch over from Yoast to Rank Math, you do need to reinstall codes. Yoast doesn't hold on to your G4 tag to my knowledge, or it didn't back then when it was Universal Analytics. So it was only Search Console I had to reconnect. But if I hadn't done that, it wouldn't have been tracking. So you are responsible for making sure those things are tracking. I'm not a big fan of things like Monster Insights, but even it, at least like it holds on to the code very well. Same for Rank Math. When you do updates to it, it keeps the code running. I have not had an instance so far anyway, knock on wood, that Rank Math didn't update and deleted my Google Analytics code from it. Never had that issue. If your plugins regularly do that, that's a bad plugin, and that's when I would move towards like putting the code just in the header. And like we don't tend to change themes that often. So like, and now you know when you do change a theme, don't make the Nina mistake. Check these things. The other times that things have gone wrong, this one was my fault. I was removing the stay22 code from my header, and then I've later added it back in because I had a conversation with them and we're running a test. But so I removed that and I didn't realize, I just didn't look, because when you're in Customize and you see the script, all I saw was this at first, and usually I put new script at the bottom, so I was like, oh, okay, I know the last thing I added was stay22, so I'll just Command A and delete it all. I didn't realize that the code was at the bottom, and so it got deleted. And that's entirely on me. That is my fault. Now, this site, and I do this very regularly. Again, I'm the queen of a lot of things, and I'm probably the queen of ruining my analytics more highly than I should be. But I think if we look at 90 days, I think it was within the 90 days. Okay, it was just at the end of 90 days, but I forgot to renew the domain, which is, again, entirely my fault. So what happened was I didn't read the emails that they kept sending me telling me, renew your domain, renew your domain. And for 2 days, the domain didn't exist. So I had to go back and buy it again, and then it all came back. That's on me. So don't make that mistake. But yeah, other times that I have wrecked the analytics, I have tried to play around with coding and like adjust other CSS, and then I accidentally adjusted the CSS for this. That's why I do kind of sometimes put it into rank math instead, especially for a site where I know I play around with the CSS and the JavaScript and everything too much, because I love to pretend I'm a coder, not a coder. Shouldn't pretend I'm a coder. So my own fault when I make these mistakes. But yeah, I think it's important to know how to fix these things when they go wrong. And that being said, like, I'm sure tech people will be like, Nina, there's so many other ways. I'm sure there are. Like, there's many others. This is supposed to be very basic for beginners to just fix things when they go wrong so that you can be in control of your analytics a bit more. And the most basic way to do that is just redo it. Just like reinstall the code. The worst thing that's going to happen if it was running correctly and you reconnect it from rank math, or you take it out of your, out of your header and then paste it in again, the worst thing that's going to happen is it just keeps running. Like, it's not going to ruin things. But it could also fix it if something went wrong. However, do not add it twice. As I said earlier, it's going to create a whole bunch of problems and synthetic issues, so don't do any of that. But this is basically how you would fix something like this. And so for Amy, who I hope doesn't mind that I've featured her in this video, I didn't ask, when she was saying that, like, okay, we had a user on the 6th of August, but GSC is showing a lot more than that. The reason that would be is if it's dropped off that first day, it's going to just diminish it. But then after that, it's going to like completely lose the people. As you saw from my analytics here, if we go back to last 30 days, like, you will see that it dropped off, but there were still a few people this day. There were 21, there was one person, and then there was 2 people. And that's because these 2 days I kind of noticed it, but I'm not even sure how it got like 1 person, but like this day is the day I deleted it in the morning. And then this day I added it back in, but I added it back in at night. And so then it could rebound up and get back to my usual number of users. Am I annoyed this happened? Yes, because I was pushing to get this site onto Raptive, and that is my own fault. And I mean, pushing, I've barely touched this site. I've done a lot wrong with it, and one day I will do a deep dive for you guys on what I've done that I shouldn't have done. Largely, number one thing, don't start a site when you don't have time for a second or third or fourth or fifth site, which is my biggest fatal flaw. Yeah, but overall, I should have also maybe checked a little bit more that this was happening. Whenever you make changes to something like the code on your site or the theme, just come here and check it. So I should have been more diligent when I was randomly deleting code that I hadn't deleted anything important. And yeah, also should have come in here to make sure that I double checked that it was running properly even after I did that. So once I reinstalled it with rank math, I came in and double checked, and then I was able to get it to work. So yeah, I hope this helps people. You should definitely feel empowered to like understand your analytics. I think that's really important for any business owner, but especially to understand like when things go wrong, kind of how you can fix it. So if you have more questions, let me know. But like I said, I'm not a tech expert, so that's not my forte. I just break this a lot, and so this is how I fix it. And these are some of the ways that I have broken it before, so you can avoid breaking it the same way. And I will see you guys soon. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And if you have requests for other videos, pop them in the comments. I love getting requests for things, and I am a people pleaser, so I will usually do what people request. Okay, bye everybody.